Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In the past few days, a concerning development took place in South America. Some countries in South America, they recalled their ambassadors from Israel, and some of these countries even broke diplomatic ties with Israel. That is very courageous, and that would have consequences, I would say negative consequences, unless these countries are either strong or they are not under the influence of a few Western states. That means retaliations can come their way. Unfortunately, even if evidence suggests that there are some violations of humanitarian law, and certain actions in Gaza could be named as war crimes. We have some so-called human rights or human liberties organizations like Simon Wiesenthal Center claiming that if you see reality or if you have an opinion, you must be bad or must be a terrorist, Hamas, or maybe you play together with the enemy Iran. You're not allowed to have an opinion different than the one expressed by one group. So I have here two articles, one coming from San Diego Union Tribune and the other one from The Guardian. And let's get into these little articles and see who's who, what's what. We're going to start with the San Diego. First, Union Tribune, today, the 1st of November 2023. Israel criticizes South American countries after they cut diplomatic ties and recall ambassadors. So Israel criticized Bolivia, Chile, and Colombia on Wednesday after the South American countries undertook a series of diplomatic moves to protest Israel's military operations against Hamas in Gaza. Israel's military operations. All right. Other Latin American countries, including Argentina and Brazil, have also increased their criticism of the impact that Israel's military operations are having on civilians. Israel on Wednesday called on Colombia and Chile to explicitly condemn the Hamas terrorist organization, which slaughtered and abducted babies, children, women, and the elderly, according to a statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These guys don't understand that is condemned. That's not the problem. They all agree with that. So they all condemn Hamas. The problem is not with Hamas here. The problem is with you guys who are killing much more civilians, many more civilians in Gaza than Hamas killed in Israel in September and 7th of October 2023. That's the problem. And you see that as justified because you try to hide behind the self-defense thing. Remember, if you are in self-defense in this situation, you still have to abide and follow and, don't violate the laws of war and international agreed humanitarian policies and international law, regardless. But they don't. They want you to focus only on that, not on what they do, because that's justified in their brains. So, and then they have one narrative, and if you don't subscribe to that, guess what? You are just a Iranian or a Hamas. Israel expects Colombia and Chile to support the right of a democratic country to protect its citizens. Yes, we agree with that. Nothing wrong over there. And to call for the immediate release of all abductees. Agree with that. And not align themselves with Venezuela and Iran in support of Hamas. Well, here you are garbage. And Hamas terrorism, Israel Foreign Ministry said. So there's two ways. One, you support me and not align with those ones. Because if you don't support me, that immediately implies that you are with Venezuela and you support Hamas and Iran. Well, sorry, things are more sophisticated than this burning bush garbage, okay? In the middle of the desert. So, let's go to the next article. from The Guardian. And it says, South American countries recall ambassadors and cut ties with Israel over war with Hamas. It's not, they don't cut ties with Israel because of the war. They cut ties with Israel because Israel kills civilians, bombards refugee camps. They turned off Gaza's water, electricity, food, fuel. So that's because of that, not because they defend themselves. It's how Israel chooses to defend itself. That's the problem. But you see, whenever you have a conversation with someone about an issue, don't allow the other person alone to frame the conversation. You are in the conversation as well. So don't accept their premises. The same here. Don't accept that they just cut ties with Israel over a war with Hamas. Sounding like, if you don't agree with me, that means you're with the other side, because we are at war with Hamas. Everything else, forget about it. Don't even talk about it. And when you try to talk about it, they point to their tragedy, which is a tragedy. But your tragedy and their tragedy makes two tragedies. How are they occurring? By attacking one another. So what would you do? Turn off the water that's dripping through the broken pipe in the basement. You don't bring towels and squeegees and other garbage to clean the water that's definitely flooding your basement because you have a broken water hose or pipe. You go and turn off the pipe coming from the city into your house. Therefore, then you repair the pipe and then you turn on the water again. That's again what should happen over there. But if you are not eager to be just and objective and try to solve the problem, and you want to solve it only your way and screw everybody else, then you have this as a consequence, and you are the angel. Well, so, and that's the way they already started the Guardian garbage. Bolivia's left-wing government, doesn't matter if it's right-wing or left-wing, I don't know, but all right, cut diplomatic ties with Israel, alleging facts and evidence are not allegations. Facts that you can see, children killed, refugee camps bombarded, that's not allegation. That's a fact, it's a reality. You can immediately say that it's an allegation with the evidence right here. They didn't start a little, a tribunal yet, but that would be a slam dunk if you have objective judges, obviously, and you follow the procedures, or the way they are supposed to. So, alleging crimes and human rights abuses in Gaza as Chile and Colombia recall ambassadors. So, it says here that President Luis Acre's administration will demand an end to the attacks on the Gaza Strip, which have so far claimed thousands of civilian lives and caused the forced displacement of Palestinians, the minister told reporters in her country's de facto capital, La Paz. All right? So here it is. This is with Bolivia here. Then we have hours later, the governments of Chile and Colombia recalled their ambassadors from Israel, while Brazil's president criticized the continued airstrikes on Gaza. Bolivia's deputy foreign minister, Freddy Mamani Machaca, said the decision represented, and I'm quoting, a repudiation and condemnation of the aggressive and disproportionate Israeli military offensive in the Gaza Strip and its threat to international peace and security. The move came after the former president, Evo Morales, called for his country to sever ties with Israel because of the, and I'm quoting, horrific situation facing the Palestinian people. Earlier this month, Morales demanded Israel be classified as a, and I'm quoting, terrorist state, and for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his accomplices be denounced to the International Criminal Court for genocide and war crimes. Now, Colombia's left-wing president, Gustavo Petro, said on Tuesday he had recalled his ambassadors over Israel's, and I'm quoting, massacre of the Palestinian people, end quote. Now, they tried to portray this as bad, Not only that he's a left wing, but he also says something here. Pedro recently linked Israel's actions to those of Adolf Hitler's Nazis, drawing a rebuke from Israel's foreign ministry, which accused him of putting Jewish lives in danger and encouraging the horrific acts of Hamas terrorists with his hostile and anti-Semitic statements. They think they use the same shaming process like for the idiots in Europe. It doesn't really work that way. They have no guilt, so as the Europeans have no guilt, but you have people who like to accept that as being guilty of something they've never done. Some other people did, but not the Europeans living right now. Some did in the past. All right, so it says Chile's ambassador Gabriel Boric said that he recalls his country's ambassador in Tel Aviv to discuss the, and I'm quoting, unacceptable violations of international humanitarian law, end quote, he said Israel was committing in Gaza. The Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva last week criticized what he called, and I'm quoting, the insanity of the Prime Minister of Israel in wanting to destroy the Gaza Strip, but forgetting that there aren't just Hamas soldiers there, but also women and children who are the big victims of this war, end quote. And I'm quoting, just because Hamas committed a terrorist act against Israel, it doesn't mean Israel has to kill millions of innocent people, end quote, Lula added in another interview. So on Tuesday evening, after reports that dozens had been killed by Israeli airstrike at a refugee camp in northern Gaza, Lula tweeted, "For the first time, we are witnessing a war in which the majority of the dead are children. Stop. For the love of God, stop." Well, and just so you know, if you're not following the script, you are attacked by this guy right here. The Simon Wiesenthal Center, a Jewish human rights organization, criticized Bolivia, Chile, and Colombia for their diplomatic moves, not Israel for providing the reason for these guys to move in this direction diplomatically. And I'm quoting Simon Wiesenthal Center. Bolivia's alliance with Iran, is becoming clearer every day because they don't follow your script. Considering that the breakup is not due to real interests of the Bolivian people. Oh, you want to change the regime there? So that means the government does something that the people in Bolivia don't want? Come to America and see how that works, or in Canada. Ariel Gelblung, the center's director for Latin America, said in a statement Tuesday. The center characterized the decision by the governments of Colombia and Chile to recall their ambassadors on Tuesday evening a clearly coordinated action. Is it based on some facts or is it just imaginary? Well, Wiesenthal Center doesn't clarify that. And I'm quoting, both leaders have always been hostile, always, forever and always, never in between, always and forever. These are the words. You always loved me, you always hated me. He's all evil, he's all good. Let me get the Bible for you and start preaching. Both leaders have always been hostile towards Israel, and both have a history of diplomatic disagreements with representatives of the Jewish state. What about the Romanian state? Let me know when you're going to hear the Romanian state or the French state, or you're going to hear only about the Jewish state. Why is that? You know why? Well, some people say that, some people say, I don't know if that's true or not, that they claimed and they were accused of anti-Semitism for claiming that maybe in Israel there is an apartheid system. But calling yourself a French state or a Romanian state or an American state, you don't really hear that. But you definitely have to use it in one instance, the Jewish state, which is fine with me. You can call yourselves however you want, but it's interesting that they try to refer only to that particular state like that, like nobody else has the right or something. Isn't that strange? Well, my friends, it's okay. We'll find out, in the future what's going to happen with Bolivia, Chile, and Colombia, and Brazil, and Argentina, who open its mouth as well. I hope nothing, because, supposedly these countries are independent and sovereign, as Israel is. But if Israel is allowed to do certain things, then each and every other country is allowed to do the same thing. Well, not really. Remember, defending yourself doesn't mean that you have the right to go and rape the whole household over there, or burn his house and their house. And no, there's limits. And unfortunately, these guys are against setting any limits. Why? Because nobody can do anything to them. Why is that? Is because they are weak, or because they're strong? I mean, if you're weak, you go to the United Nations, you pass a resolution, you got the UN forces, you got NATO intervene over there, put sanctions, and you clear everything, right? And you occupied like you try to do in Yugoslavia, and you take care of stuff in 1999, right? But hey, you don't dare to do that. And there are certain countries that say, hey, hold on, nobody intervenes here. Let them fuck them up, okay? And when they get enough, and when they say it's enough, then I will go in and I will clear things for everybody, as I've been doing in the past, 50, 60 years. And this is the good result that is based on my actions. That is obviously Al Capone. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.